Hey, it's a crazy, busy Monday morning. You're very welcome to KAFTAN Television this beautiful Monday morning, sunny, bright, a bright start to the new day. Yes, I'm Nikki Atta, and you're very welcome. We are doing the press like you know it. It's that time of the morning. Yes, this weekend was so full of activities. So many things happened, and we're going to look at them because they're on the front pages of today's newspapers. After that, we have a guest in the studio. I won't unveil right now, and then we'll be talking about a topic that's related to all the things that you are hearing coming out from the World Bank. Right, let's just dive into the front pages of the newspaper. Like I told you, it's a beautiful, bright, sunny morning, so we're expecting lovely weather throughout, and that's just what it's going to be like. Okay, so let's just look at the Vanguard newspapers to begin with. The Vanguard this morning. On the front page of the Vanguard, we have today that the banner headline says inflation erodes banks' profits, jerks up costs. It's on page 19. Many riders as gross earnings still on rising streak. Bad loans headache also rising. Their strengths, their weaknesses. Okay, so that's the front page news of the Vanguard this morning. Let's see other stories. Above the masthead, we have here Delta. PDP defectors unwilling to register for APC. Why the hell did they defect? You wonder. Well, that's on page 5. They defected, they don't want to register. Nice. We have another story here. MPAN backs FG's 220 million fine on Meta. Well, that was in the news all last week, how Facebook and WhatsApp are getting a fine for not meeting up to our regulatory standards. Present crop of leaders motivated by power and wealth acquisition. Who is saying this? Femi Okoromu. It's on page 14 of this morning's Vanguard. Femi, I think I agree. Genco's 4 trillion naira debt. Federal government pledges cash payment. Promissory notes. It's on page 8. Edwin Clark, Chief Edwin Kiagbolo Clark, who died earlier this year, is said to be buried on May the 13th. That's the news coming from the family. It's on the front page of today's Vanguard. It says Edwin Clark to be buried May 13th. The full story is on page 12. More stories here. Tension in Ondo as Amotekun police clash over custody of suspect and exhibit. It's on page 6. I found him, I'll keep it. The police say no, release it to us. We are custodians. So that's what's going down. Serap, editors to Tinubu. Stop Cybercrime Act abuse. Free detained journalists. Others. Free detained journalists. Yes, I'm one, so I'll agree with that. Free the detained journalists. Journalism isn't a crime. It's not a cybercrime either. Please free them. Thank you, Serap. That's on page 9, and that resonates right here in the studio. Let us go over to the Daily Independent. The Daily Independent this morning is leading with a story about Dana Airline. You know, Dana Airline was suspended last year. Well, their lead story goes here. Passengers refund trapped. Staff agitate over unpaid salaries 1 year after Dana Air suspension. The writer goes, union petitions EFCC over 134 million naira unremitted pensions deductions. So you'll see some of them, you know, going into, what should I say, limbo. Because number one, your salaries unpaid, passengers refund unpaid, then the airline suspended, you didn't get to travel. It's such a catch-22 situation. Well, there's a picture story there. It says something Farmers United. So you want to find out what that's all about. You see the farmers also carrying placards. Ondo farmers shut expressway. Oh, here it is, over plan to grade cocoa plantations. That's on page 29. So those are the Ondo farmers right there. Those who sent me to prison must account for it. Farotimi. That's on page 7. Inflows dropped to 6.67 billion naira in dollars, $6.67 billion in April. Federal government races to pay 4 trillion naira debt to avert power infrastructure collapse. Stop using Cybercrime Act against journalists. NGE Serap tells Tinubu government. Bam! Final story there. Senate leader reveals how Alausa saved Nadeco leaders in exile. Right, from the Daily Independent this morning, let's go over and have a look at this Nigerian newspapers. The front pages of this Nigeria still talking about the race for the electricity tariff. It says here, electricity. Federal government must address this crisis. Nigerians tell Tinubu. We need to learn how South Africa is able to generate and distribute about 58,000 megawatts. How Ghana has moved beyond general darkness within 2 decades. Page 2. Couldn't have put it better. That's a good one. Lagos police will prosecute rape cases with ease. So says CP Jimo. Big ups. Thank you, sir. Page 23. NDLEA seizes 942 explosives, over 300,000 tramadol pills bound for Zamfara. That's on page 12. A writer here says Navy arrests 2 suspects trafficking pangolin scales worth 25 million naira in Akwa Ibom State. President will clinch 70% of Southeast votes for supporting Ndibo. So says Ben Kalu. Obaze, Obi's strong ally, dumps LP. It's on page 19. Let's take a look at the Blueprint newspapers next. NDLEA intercepts 942 Zamfara-bound explosives. Good one. Seizes 3.4 billion naira opioids in Lagos and Port Harcourt. Uncovers drugs in chocolate tins. Wow. Criminals will go to any length. Akpabio kicks against service elongation by NAS bureaucrats. Akpabio kicks against service elongation by NAS bureaucrats. Interesting, because nobody's kicking against the one by the Inspector General of Police. 4 trillion naira power sector debt tops as Gencos meet Tinubu. It's on page 31. How Nigeria can improve safety and security in schools has come in from a university don. Sultan Oni, vital to national unity. Jonathan hails monarch's royal dignity. That's talking about Nigeria's former president, Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, saying that these royal fathers are very essential. They're essential parts of Nigeria's national unity. From the Blueprint, let's look at this morning's Daily Sun. The Daily Sun is leading with a political story. You remember that after the so-called Hurricane Tinubu, when Okowa now decamped, he said that Atiku was also going to decamp in a matter of time. Well, here we have the banner headline going, Atiku's camp hits back at Okowa, labels him betrayer. The story is on page 8. Okay, we have other stories beyond that. IPOB demands reversal of group's prescription as terrorists, insists on earlier High Court stand. Other stories, Lagos worst hit as Nigeria loses over 30 billion naira to 42 market fires. Terrible. Stakeholders call for policy overhaul and improved safety systems. We agree. End use of Cybercrime Act against journalists. Serap NGE tell Tinubu government. That's the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Demand release of those in custody. Page 21. Here. 4 trillion naira debt. Tinubu to meet Gencos plans phased settlement. Federal High Court sets up FOI desk to enhance journalists' access to information. Nice. Federal High Court. That's a good one. We like. Let's see what's on the Punch this morning. The front cover of the Punch is also talking political. Rivers emergency rule. It says, National Assembly counters PDP governor's suit and demands 1 billion naira. It's on page 2. The writer says NAS asks Supreme Court to dismiss opposition government's lawsuit as Apex Court is set for hearing. Now fund under fire over loans to ex-students. Giving out loans to what could be more dishonest? When are we going to stop all this corruption? The story is on page 8 and it's disgusting. To imagine you'll be giving out loans to ex-students as graduates. You're giving them students' loans. Naira printing costs skyrocket by 306%. That's on page 31. Oyo signs 3.5 billion Naira contract for rural markets upgrade. It's on page 39. Communal boundary clashes kill over 1,700 people in 7 years. Page 6. Like I always say, those figures are the official figures. If you see 1,700, estimate 2,000 people have gone. Very sad. Tinubu to meet Genco's over 4 trillion Naira electricity debt. It's on page 12. And we have assembly crisis. Oh my goodness. Assembly crisis. Zamfara Benue governors challenge NAS summons. Daily Trust. Let's look at today's Daily Trust. The Daily Trust has a worrisome story which is echoing in a lot of today's newspapers, talking about a report that came in over the weekend from the World Bank. It leads with the story saying poverty rising in rural Nigeria. This is something we all know, but coming from the World Bank now, we hope it will be taken more seriously. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk about that at length when we talk also about what the cost to Nigeria of all these incessant killings and all that, and it always takes place, or usually takes place, in the rural areas. Nigerians worse off than 64 years ago, so says AFDB president. Presidency faults Adesina's comments. ActionAid blames corruption. Okay, so poverty is rising in rural Nigeria. That's where most people live. Lakurawa mounts massive attack in Sokoto and kills 13 hunters. Terrible. 54 billion Naira released to schools, 24 billion to students. Nelfund MD. Flight disruptions. Passengers narrate ordeal. Experts suggest solutions. We have here how Boko Haram attacked Yobe military brigade and killed 4 soldiers. May the souls of those gallant soldiers rest in perfect peace. I'm not happy to bring such news this early morning, am I? But well, we pray that doesn't dampen their morale and they keep on going after these terrorists. God bless them. Let's look at Nigerian Tribune this morning. The front cover is also talking about that World Bank report. Very, very, very worrisome, I would say. Poverty rate among Nigeria's rural dwellers hits 75%. World Bank. It's on page 5. Ondo farmers block Ore Lagos Road. That also is impacting on our food production and access. Police, Amotekun clash in Ondo over arrest of suspect and 6 have been injured. 2027 defections alter South-South political configuration. We have here Oyebanji breaks 18-year-old jinx and completes Ado Ifaki Highway. Congratulations. 18 years to build just one highway. It's finally being built. Federal government vows to address 4 trillion Naira debt crippling Nigeria's power sector. Right, it's the quarter of the hour. So, like I promised you, we were going to delve straight into the discussion segment coming forth from what we found in today's newspapers. So it's on that note, it's my pleasure to tell you right here in the studio live with us is our guest. He is a free trade fellow of the Aminira Initiative. Sammy Tunji has like almost 30,000 followers on his page. When I grow up, I want to be like you. You're welcome. Good morning.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, Mickey.
Oh, I am so happy you made it. I made it early. I love guests like you. Okay, can you just tell us what's the initiative about? Because, you know, Ominira Initiative. What's it about?
At the moment, we are more focused on free trade. Ominira, it's kind of means freedom.
Okay.
In Yoruba. So the whole idea, I'm a fellow for them, free trade fellow, pushing free trade agenda and ensuring that, yes, there's ease of doing business, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa. So that is one of our central focus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but how does that then impact on, or, you know, what you said? We're going to really be talking more about this business of, you know, this rural, how the impact of this is affecting our food chain and all that.
Yeah. Well, based on, evidently from news reports that we just glanced through, rural crisis is not just rural anymore. It's now a kind of national crisis that needs to be addressed. I think in the front page of Daily Trust, you see Lakurawa killing about 15 hunters. Punch says boundary and communal clashes. About nearly 2,000 people have been killed.
Right.
So there are a lot of killings ongoing, and this affects not just the economy, but even human capital development. So there's an urgent need to address this killing. Now let's look at the context of banditry and communal clash and the likes.
Yes.
One thing that the current government has been trying to do is to diversify the economy, and this is hardly feasible without there being adequate security. Because one way to diversify the economy is through agriculture. Now, go to farmland in rural areas. A number of them are being held hostage by bandits, asking them to pay levies. Some of them cannot go to farm. Their farmland are being destroyed.
Right.
That's
by the herdsmen.
You need to lower agricultural outputs,
right,
which eventually will trigger food crisis. I think there's a report, by FAO, saying that about, I think, over 30 million Nigerians are at risk of food insecurity, acute food insecurity. That is concerning, that is alarming, and we need to seriously address that. We need to step up our security measures to tackle this insecurity in rural areas, because it has a lot of effects on economic development and economic diversification for the country.
Yeah, when I kept saying, when I was growing up, the first big grammar, that I ever learned was a diversification of the economy. So and up till now, we're still doing diversification of the economy, and it's still not happening. And like you said, these are where else to diversify the economy than in agriculture? And these are so many stumbling blocks, and they're all man-made. They're all, you know what I'm saying? It would have been different if maybe Nigeria was hit by a land-grabbing hurricane or something like that. But here we are, man versus man, struggling for food like we're animals in the food chain. So what do you think needs to be done right now? Because, you can imagine, like you said, how banditry threatens Nigeria's economic diversification, talking specifically about agriculture, right? It so affects it because in the first place, what else is security? To my mind, to me, there's no food security. Which one is security again? Am I going to be alive to be hungry? I'll be alive, I'll be starving.
True.
Food security is it. So what do you think, what are the things, proactive steps that need to be taken, like in the short term first, then maybe long term ones?
Well, I think first we need to recognize, identify what are the underlying causes for this. And two newspapers carried one of the major, about poverty in rural areas,
right,
about over 75% according to the World Bank. And that is really alarming.
I know. Because if 75, is it the remaining 25?
Yeah. So in a way, poverty can push people to vices.
Right.
So when you are hungry, you tend to do certain things just to survive.
Right.
And that poverty breeds, in a sense, insecurity.
Right.
So there's a need to tackle that poverty. And there was a time the federal government came up with cash transfer, 15,000, I think, or thereabouts, 75,000 to a certain household, I think about 15 million household. But how effective have that been? We have heard of cases of corruption. The minister, I think the former minister for humanitarian affairs, had to be suspended and all. So that has impeded the efforts to promote cash transfer to vulnerable and poor people.
Right.
So to what extent has that continued, and how effective have that been? There was another report by the World Bank that said that cash transfer can save a number of Nigerians for poverty. But we have found that there have been serious issues around the management of that program, which the federal government needs to take seriously. Then aside from that, there's a need for surveillance, proper surveillance, to ensure protection of people in the rural areas.
Right.
Then we need to ensure that our security personnel are well armed. There have been reports of sometimes bandits having more advanced arms.
Very sophisticated weapons.
Yeah. So that is significant. That's ridiculous. Because how do you want to fight? And that, in fact, that can create a kind of low morale in the minds of the soldiers that are fighting. So there's a need for them to be adequately armed. And it's funny that they are not adequately armed, because a significant amount of our budget allocation is to security. I think aside from maybe the 2025 budget, over the past 4 or 5 years or thereabouts, most great allocation of the budget is towards security. So what is happening? Is there no efficient monitoring and evaluation to ensure that those funds are spent right? So that is another argument to be made. So there's a need to beef up our security, ensure that our military are well armed enough to tackle bandits and other illegal armed forces, then ensuring that we bring down poverty rates. Very, very important. There was a report by the IMF, I think it was a statement that said that despite the whole government reforms, food insecurity and poverty is still very high in the country. And if those two things are high, a man that is very poor and can hardly feed will be maybe compelled to go into crime.
Yes.
And that to keep worsening the security condition of the country. And that's issue needs to be addressed. You need, when the country is secure, that's when you can easily attract investments. That's where people can go to school, children can go to school, and children are the leaders of tomorrow. And by them going to school, you boost your human capital development and all that. So yes, fighting poverty, ensuring adequate security measures, those are 2 points are very critical in addressing the security crisis in rural areas.
Right. You know, something else that's really strange is the fact that when it's time for elections, the government is able to identify the 774 local government areas. In fact, they can identify every single polling unit. Can they not apply the same wisdom to also look for the security of the people in those 774 local government areas? And you know what's so funny? We had some of these, you know, these plateau killings, which seem to be ongoing and unending. We had some of them right here live in the studio. Some were in their houses, unprovoked attacks. They were in their houses and they set the whole house on fire. Some of them, you know, they'll break through the door and you try to save yourself, they cut off your arm. You know, somebody had his eyes gouged out, all sorts of horrible incidents, right? And we said to them, like, couldn't you maybe raise an alarm and some people will run over to the police station? They said, there's no police station there. What? A local government does not have a police outpost. I mean, for goodness sake, so where are you putting all these police stations? So like in the urban areas, we have police stations all over the place chasing the journalists, but you don't have them protecting where the people are most vulnerable, talking about the people in the rural areas. We have a new label for them. We call them rural poor. So why are we not why is Nigeria not protecting them, you wonder?
Well, I think that first there's the issue of understaffing, where you don't have enough military or enough personnel to cover certain populations, certain areas. And one of the reasons for that is low incentive to join such forces, because why should I sacrifice my life? What benefit do I get? So there's a need to create that balance of, oh, yes, we know you are coming to serve your country, but this is a good reason. Aside from you having a passion for it, there's enough incentive to push you towards making that move. Then I think we also need that political will. Government needs to prioritize in areas that are necessary. You find maybe a political big wing having a lot of personnel around, which is completely unnecessary, instead of serving areas that really need that. There's need to be that political will, that relevant policy to direct or to ensure that the available staff are located in areas that are needed.
Right.
And there's need for collaboration between not just the police, but the military and all that, and Air Force and all that. There's a need for strong collaboration. Then I think this will also lead to the argument for community policing.
Yeah.
Because and state government, I know, have been pushing for a while, though there have been a lot of back and forth, all that, but it's evident that we need community policing, especially in all these critical areas that are, in a sense, unsafe.
Right.
Like, you hear a lot of killings happening in Plateau State, and I think there was one other state, Benue. I think over the last week or so, over 100 and something persons have been killed, which is very, very disheartening. So there's a need to focus on those areas, deploy enough personnel to help give those people a sense of protection, a sense of assurance that, oh, this is my house, I don't need to run for one reason or the other. So the government needs that political will, there's any further political will to prioritize and do what is needed.
You know, do we seem to see signs of this political will you're talking about? Because some people are now advocating, should Nigerians just do self-help and be self-armed and protect themselves? Is it time for us to receive licenses and hold our own guns?
I think one of the reasons why insecurity has been the way it is because of how we look as if small arms are everywhere. That proliferation of arms, which needs to be, there's an agency that's meant to control that, but I'm not too sure to what extent that agency have been effective. So if everybody has guns, it may lead to more crisis because kill me, I come to kill you, revenge and all that,
yes,
which can just make the country very chaotic.
Right.
So first we need to control the level of small arms that ordinary people have. Like people that don't need to have arms should not be having arms. So there's a need to ensure that control first. Then we need to, because if you look at the case of America, you hear of gun violence almost on a regular basis. Someone can just enter a school and shoot because there's free gun usage and all that. So it may not be very effective in Nigeria. It may not be very effective. So that's why we need to still push for adequate control of. I think there was a report about Zafara Bond explosive that was seized. That is very, very disturbing.
No.
So we need to ensure adequate surveillance, adequate control of small arms, monitoring, tracking to ensure that arms don't fall in the hands of the wrong people. If any arms you should be able to track, trace where those arms are coming from and block such leakages. I think that is a better option than allowing everyone to have a form of arm or the other.
Okay. Well, another thing about this economic diversification, as it stands now, already since the banditry is already hitting hard, food is so expensive, it's unreal. It's almost like human beings shouldn't eat in Nigeria any longer. With that in mind, then, do you think that a short-term measure could be cheap food imports? Could we travel that route, or does it, tend to have evil effects in the long term?
Well, what is cheap food imports? Our food, imported food inflation is almost as high, or if not higher than our food inflation rates, because we have the issue of currency volatility, where exchange rate is nearly about 1,600. So except the federal government wants to come with subsidy, which it's not very, very recommendable. There's actually, in a sense, no cheap...
Let's have the numbers on the screen.
No cheap food import. So, imports may help in a sense, but it's not a strong... I remember there was a time where they introduced a measure where the federal government, I think, cleared levy, free import levy. But how efficient was that?
Yeah, no, you asked who got it. Nobody seems to have had it. Okay, so we have our first caller. Let's hear from him. Hello, good morning. You're our first caller. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. You're live. You're our first caller. Go ahead.
Hello.
Speak up. We can hear you. You are live. Please, hello, you're whispering. This is your final take. You're live. Go ahead. Right. We lost him.
Oh.
Right. He just kept saying hello. Yeah, like you were saying. So how effective was it? Because, at the onset, they said, we're going to do this CNG on the one side. Then we're going to have these bags of rice sold at 40,000 naira per person. And, then nobody knew anybody who knew somebody who knew anybody who had ever gotten the rice.
Yeah, there are a lot of bureaucracy involved.
Yes.
And it's not, for Nigeria, I want to say maybe it's not a very, very easy, smooth process. So there are a lot of politics and all involved. So it may not be very effective. The most effective.
We have the caller, have another caller. Let's hear from him. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. Hello. Just go ahead and talk. We can hear you. We can hear you. Just talk. Right, same person, and he just doesn't want to speak. Yeah. So, so what do you think could be short-term measures? Because like if we're going to wait until the time the policies begin to take effect, some people will now be murdered off.
I think that still boils down to the political will.
Yeah.
If look at the case of Rivers, we just woke up suddenly and there was an order from the presidency and action was implemented. So if there is that strong political will that, oh, we want to ensure the safety and protection of farmers, release enough personnel to protect the farmland, protect farmers as they're working, ensure smooth passage, adequate road infrastructure to ensure logistic and order to cut those costs.
Yes.
Provide maybe subsidized fertilizer and other farm inputs for farmers to work easily. So those will also help towards achieving the cheaper food prices and all that.
Okay. Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Hello?
Yeah, good morning. Go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning, please. Your name and where you're calling from.
Hello?
Yeah, can we have your name and where you're calling from?
Good morning.
Good morning. Let's have your name and where you're calling from.
Hello?
Right, please get your act together because you know you're just not getting it.
Probably in the network, you know.
Yes.
So importation of food may just may provide temporary measure, but
yes,
it may not be as effective as it should be because of the FX volatility and all the complexity around our ports and all that. So
yeah, but how come when it comes to the bureaucratic aspect of it, it's not effective? But like if you lived in one of these like should I say border cities, the smugglers are well able. Like before I came here, I worked at Cross River Broadcasting Corporation, yeah, and but for the smugglers, we would have died of hunger. So all the cheap rice we got came, smuggled in from Cameroon. No, this one's not Gokon. We had cheap, smuggled, good rice from Cameroon. Then the Nigerian rice was so expensive, and then it wasn't even available. Maybe because of, like you said, all these loopholes. So before they come from one Zamfara to one Abuja to come down to, people would have been dead.
True.
So it became us depending on the smugglers and getting free, good food. So how do we balance that? And the government's own bureaucracy, nobody sees it.
The question is how free is those illegally imported food, because a number of them risk their life.
Yeah.
They have to bribe one person or the other.
Oh, no.
So it's technically has a huge human costs, but yeah, it seems free and all when imported. But I think the environments are different. What's the ease of doing business, how secure those environments are. If we can have a truly secure environment where and the government is able to curb inflation, then yes, our rice may be as cheap as our neighboring, the other neighboring countries. So importation will not fix the problem in the country. It may provide short-term relief, cheap price, everybody eats, but there's still an underlying problem that will persist and still disrupt our economy in the long run.
Okay, so like in the free trade zones, what do they do? Like, could we have like rice coming in there as rice on the prohibited list?
Well, I think African Development Bank is working. I think the SAP also zones to ensure that to drive agricultural, agro-industrial sector of Nigeria. So if that is implemented, I think there was a launch, I can't remember the particular state, but there was a launch recently.
Yes.
If that is implemented successfully, then yes, we can see progress in the agricultural sector. But it's still a long run, because if you don't address the underlying issues, the top may not be as small, because the rural farmers provide raw materials, provide the basic produce that we need and all that. So we still need to address that underlying part before we can move to the upper parts, and those are the upper layers.
Okay, like what are the upper layers? Because I always hear economists talking about the food value chain and so give us an idea. What are those upper parts?
Everything we consume move through a particular chain or let me say, process. So we have from the farmers, which are especially small holder farmers, which are like the basic, and sometimes the source of the raw material.
Right.
So those farm produce sometimes will need to be processed, because you cannot just harvest rice and go and eat. It needs to go through, I think, the millers and all that. So move from the farmers to maybe the miller or the processor.
Yes.
From there, you need to be transported.
Yeah.
That's where good infrastructure comes in. The roads are accessible at different areas. The illegal taxis along the way. So those are all factors.
Settlement.
Yes, those people need that needs to be settled. But after that, and in fact, even before the transportation, after the transportation, the storage needs to be stored in decent environments. And Nigeria has, I can't remember the figure, but Nigeria has high post-harvest loss rates. Yeah. So those are like chain it goes through before it gets to the final consumer.
Okay.
So that's why that bottom part needs to be fixed for others to flow smoothly. Yeah. Then there are also roadblocks along the way. We mentioned the settlements, the poor road infrastructure, poor networking from one place to another. How you may spend hours. For instance, if you're moving tomato from maybe Taraba or somewhere to Lagos, it may even run at a loss because of how bad roads are, all the delays, traffic and all that may even lead to damage for your goods. So those are not just the down part, almost throughout the value chain, there are issues that need to be addressed.
Okay. Who's supposed to provide, like, I want to pick up on storage. Who's supposed to do it? Like in other countries, we see these giant silos, and you see all these storage places. In fact, but giant refrigeration units for the off-takers and all that. Who's supposed to supply it? I'm sure it wouldn't be the rural farmer.
It would be the government. I think there'll be private sector involved in such business, and they can provide, especially if you are, for instance, if you are a manufacturer of a product or you need all those farm process, you are expected to have a storage facility for your product that's coming. The farmers have their own small barn and all that to store things, but in the value chain there are different players, and a number of the players have their own storage facility, but they're also faced with other issues like high cost of electricity, epileptic power supply, high cost of energy providing. So there are a whole lot of factors compounding and worsening the value chain system as we go.
But like you really say, the bottom line will be if those farmers at the beginning of the chain are unsafe and cannot go to the farm, cannot even produce the produce, we've already failed. Every other one will be meaningless. So if you have a beautiful expressway from my farm to Abuja, and I can't get to the farm to even do my farming because of the herdsmen, the killers, the bandits and all that, it's as good as nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like you said, we really have to look at the fundamentals and our foundation. And security, like we all know, is the essential essence, the meaning of government. Government is for you to look into the security and the welfare of people. The farmers are not secure, our welfare not secure, because we can't eat. Food is so expensive. Please, I would really, could you like write all you've said to the presidency? All the recommendations to me make so much sense. It's like, is nobody seeing this, for goodness sake? Like you said, the rural farmers have to be protected. If they're not protected, what is the need protecting me? I might as well die because hunger is about to kill me. Like those lepers, you know, in that biblical tale, where they said, oh, look, you know, we're under siege anyway. We are sitting here dying of hunger. Let me just go over to the enemy's camp. Coco, if they shoot me, I'm gone. If they don't, I'll eat. And you know the rest. Yeah. They now got a bounty. So let's, you know, maybe the government needs to take the bull by the horn. So, you know, you can just give Nigerians and as well as the Nigerian authority some last wrap-up of your thoughts on what you think could be done about the banditry and its effect on our economic diversification. You know, just wrap it up. You've really spelled them out, but just like give pointers, bullet points.
Well, I believe the government, in fact, the president, let me be more specific, the president has a lot of special advisors that are very able and capable to give him relevant information. So it's not just about them hearing it, it's that willingness to actually act. And I think that's one thing that's been lacking. Well, the good thing is that when our president came back from France, he met with some key security chiefs to address the issues, the security issues, and I think he made a statement recently emphasizing that we need to protect the life of ordinary Nigerians, and that is very key. So, but there's a need to also engage those in the community, because some community members actually collude with bandits for their own safety.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and that's most likely due to the lack of trust in government, lack of trust in security forces. So we need to ensure effective community engagement to build trust. And then, aside from building that trust, we need to ensure and provide practical evidence of that trust, where those people in rural areas are sure that the government are willing to protect them and not just interested in their votes, willing to ensure that their lives matter. So when we take that step, building the trust, ensuring adequate security, banditry, community policing, and other relevant technological tools, that will now begin to take a step forward towards addressing the security crisis in the country. There's also the need to address poverty and other attendant factors, underlying factors that drive insecurity.
But sorry, but can I just ask you, what are steps to be taken to address poverty? We notice in China, the government will announce we're going to take 100, million people or some high figure out of poverty. That year they do it. So what steps should Nigeria take so that people are not, like our own poverty now has now been defined as multifaceted, multidimensional poverty. Take them at least out of that poverty bracket. So what are steps you think they should do?
Well, I think the first step is, which is like the basic step, is the cash transfer that needs to be done effectively.
Okay.
That is the first step. That's just the basic, because this is just like giving someone fish, not teaching someone how to catch fish. So
for the meantime,
that's just the basic point to help, or at least you have something to survive with.
Yes.
The other things include, one, ensuring proper education, to ensure that, yes, if I'm well educated, I have access to certain opportunities. They're making those opportunities available. Job creation, and not just low-wage job, like maybe artisanal mining and all things. No. Job with good income, where, yes, I know that when I finish school, I get a job, and I'm doing well, I'm able to take care of my family and all that. So, yes, there need to be good income job. There need to be adequate wage let me say allowance. Like the minimum wage should be adequate enough to push an ordinary person out of poverty. So there are also economic policies that should be targeted at poor and vulnerable people, housing, good roads, and all that, to ensure businesses. For instance, if there are good roads in the community, there's lights, steady, affordable lights, a company can be established here, and that creates jobs for people and opportunity for people to. So there's a need for good infrastructure. There's a need for well-paying jobs, not just mega jobs. Good power supply, lower energy costs. So all these factors play to help Nigeria become a richer, less poor country.
Yes, so we would really like those initiatives to really be looked into, especially the one you talked about, these jobs. I have a friend who got married to his wife, and he after about a year, he called her and he said to her, look, I'm not the kind of man that will say, you mustn't work if you're my wife, right? But I just wanted you to sit down and look at the economies of it. You spend this on transport, you have to spend this on lunch, you have to spend this on clothing, and how much is your salary? So I'm the one who's been funding you working this past year, you know what I'm saying? So don't you think it's high time you just quit the job? She was like, yes, I even want to, because I'm like, my goodness, am I working? Am I working, or you're the one working for me? So you give people these jobs, and at the end, they're in economic downturn instead of even climbing. So I think that was a really valid point. Well-paid jobs, good jobs,
match the high cost of living. So that's very, very important. And
then you said another key point, that the minimum wage should be such that such such a person is at least able to look after himself or maybe his immediate family. The minimum wage can't buy a bag of rice. Not one bag of rice. The minimum wage cannot pay anybody's rent. The minimum wage is like craziness in Nigeria's economy. So, like you were saying,
also a number of companies that still pay below that minimum wage, which is very, very sad.
I know. So
even state governments too. So
have refused to key into it.
That needs to also be addressed. The country, I think, poverty rates should be almost half the population of the country is poor.
More than half, just a few, there's just a handful.
So
and then the disparity is so high.
That inequality, social inequality is too high, and that alone can breed conflicts and still worsen the economic situation of things. And that's why
worsen the security.
You find a number of politicians hardly even stay in the country. They're always quick to leave. But you are going to another country. Are you not inspired by those countries you go to make your home country better?
No, they're not. They just, this is great. Let me send my children over there and leave everyone else's children to themselves.
That's why we need better leaders too.
We need better leaders. Okay. Oh God, it's been such a pleasure. I don't even want to let you go. Our guest today has been Sammy Tunji. He's a free trade fellow at Ominira Initiative, free trade fellow. How do I become a free trade fellow? Can humble people like us become free trade fellows?
Definitely, opportunities are open to everyone. When the next application round is out, you can apply.
Please give me an expo when it comes out, so I'll quickly apply.
No problem. I will do that.
Thank you very much, Sammy Tunji. Right, it's been great. Okay, so I hope when we call you back, you'll come back and give us more tips.
No problem.
All right, thank you very much.
It has been a pleasure.
Right.
Thank you,
okay, that's Sammy Tunji's lighting up our Monday morning with a whole lot of stuff to chew on. So while we're digesting that, I'll take a very short break. When I come back, the program, The Press, continues. So stay with us.
Imagine a beautiful world. That's our slogan at KAFTAN TV. Hello there, I am Ruben Okala.
Hello, I'm glad to have you join us again on the News on the Hour, reaching you live from our studio in the nation's capital.
And that has been the news. Many thanks for watching. My name is Fatima Abbas Hassan. I'm there cutting Baba today.
I am Kirian Maya.
The politics of Lagos State is still very much in the hands of the leaders.
My name is Dayo Omogun. I've not done a change of name.
To Adebayo Film and Theatre Arts Network.
We always dish out beautiful material.
Imagine a beautiful world. That's our slogan at KAFTAN TV. Hello there, I am Ruben Okala.
Hello, I'm glad to have you join us again on the News on the Hour, reaching you live from our studio in the nation's capital.
And that has been the news. Many thanks for watching. My name is Fatima Abbas Hassan. I'm there cutting Baba today.
I am Kirian Maya.
The politics of Lagos State is still very much in the hands of the leaders.
My name is Dayo Omogun. I've not done a change of name.
To Adebayo Film and Theatre Arts Network.
We always dish out beautiful material.
say on Kaftan TV, imagine a beautiful world. We're not just bragging, we know our onions in the world of broadcasting. One of our outlets to express ourselves to the world is our flagship program, Matters Arising. Join veteran broadcaster Ruben Okala and our crack team live.
And they give us a high price, and we just say, Nigeria, we ready?
As I said earlier, the lyrics is up, talking about the old new national.
On Kaftan TV, StarTimes channel 480 and 124, as well as NIGCOMSAT frequency 12518, symbol rate 29500, Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. live. You can join the conversation by calling this phone number 0802 993 8365. It's dramatic and insightful. Don't miss it. Please join us. When we say on Kaftan TV, imagine a beautiful world. We're not just bragging, we know our onions in the world of broadcasting. One of our outlets to express ourselves to the world is our flagship program, Matters Arising.
Some say Nigeria's 26-year political sojourn, now in its fourth republic, is a story of a navigator exploring a particularly difficult terrain. Can the nation scale the hurdles ahead, or will the headwinds be too much? Join me, Shegun Ojelade, as I ask the difficult questions, moderate uncensored debates, razor-sharp analysis, and unveil the truth shaping our democracy on the program Politics 004, showing KAFTAN TV. Politics 004, Policy and Politics. Join us.
welcome back. If you're just joining, you're welcome. It's the press. It's Kaftan Television. I'm Nikki Atta. This beautiful Monday morning. It's the 5th day of May. May already. May was really fast coming. Well, there is some significance to this 5th day of May because actually it marks the end of the Lenten season. So this year was very, very dramatic. Or should we say spiritual? There was something about this year, and particularly this day, because you see, the Muslim fasting of Ramadan this year, 2025, merged and coincided with the Christian season of Lent. That's the Christian fasting period. It's just that the Christian fasting is 40 days, while that of Ramadan, the Islamic fasting, is 29, maximum 30 days. So Lent ended today. Both of them dovetailed, both religions. In fact, the 3 Abrahamic religions, including Judaism, were also fasting at the same time. So they all coincided. Or is it a coincidence? We're wondering, is it really a coincidence or is it spiritual? Who am I to talk about that? But we're going to be joined virtually by a man of the letters, talking about a great cleric in the person of Archbishop John Praise Daniel. Archbishop John Praise Daniel is the lead pastor of Dominion Bible Faith Ministries. He's also the CEO of Dominion Global Network and People Engineering. So he's joining us virtually this morning and he's going to throw more light onto some of these spiritual matters, especially of today. So good morning, Archbishop. Do we have the Archbishop joining us?
Yes, good morning.
All right. We are still searching for him in cyberspace. So before he comes on then, I'll also have to tell you that this morning, there's an announcement. Oh, my goodness. There we have the Archbishop. Good morning, Your Grace.
God bless you, Mickey. Good morning.
God bless you too. Your phone should have been on landscape so that we won't have all the black. You're welcome. Good morning. Well, the Archbishop, I must tell you, has clocked 65 years young. He doesn't look 65. Congratulations. We wish you 65 more happy years, Your Grace.
Amen. Amen.
God bless. Okay, Your Grace, you were just saying that this year, 2025, and this day, 5th of May, marks the end of the Christian Lenten period. But for Judaism, for Christianity, and for Islam, this year there was a coinciding of all the fasting, Ramadan, Lent, Judaic fasting. Can you tell us, is there any spiritual connotation to it, or is it just a mere coincidence?
I don't really think there is any much spiritual significance. To me, it's more of coincidence. But in all things, not a problem. Everybody's praying to God, fasting, prayers, all of that. It's fine. But I think it's just a coincidental calendar meeting and activities clashing. But in any case, it also shows us there could be unity of faith, unity of purpose, and understanding between the different faiths. It means that we need to be looking in one direction and trusting God to give us solution and cause us to see each other as people that are created by God and become finally conscious of our humanity, no matter what our faith may be.
Great. We're all people created by one God. We should all be conscious of our humanity. I'm going to have that as a takeaway. Now, you're the CEO of Dominion Central and Central Global Network and People Engineering. Now, can you tell us a little bit about the people engineering aspect? I'm really curious.
Well, thank you. The name of our church is Dominion Chapel International Churches.
Yes.
And we have a global ministry. And then people's engineering is a way of my of me being funny, I like to add what is it now to my preaching. I like to add humor to what I do. And actually, when I say people engineering, I am someone that is people's conscious. I love people, and I want to see people happy. And so I did civil engineering in my days, and then I used to tell people that I did Bible engineering. So I took the Bible and I left the engineering.
Okay.
But when it comes to people engineering, I'm talking about the strength of relationship, because people are the greatest part of us. A man that is rich in people is greater than a man rich in money. So we need to value people. We need to know that people are part of us, and our relationships should be very, very vital.
Wow, that is so profound.
Yes.
A man rich in people is richer than a man rich in money. That is so profound. Thank you, Your Grace.
Thank you so much, Vicky.
Great. Okay, can you give us a little tip about how you celebrated your birthday? Because unlike the conventional, religious birthday parties and all that, yours seemed to be like a colloquium where national issues were brought to the fore, and a lot of top government officials were there. Give us a little brief breakdown of how it went.
Mickey.
Yes.
Thank you, Mickey. I've been very passionate about this nation. And for 25 years, we have prayed and did a concert that we call Celebrating Nigerians' Emerging Greatness. So I've been a believer in the greatness of this great nation. So at my 65th birthday, also considering my commitment and the dialogue I had, the interface I did with the president, even just before the campaign started, September 2022, when he came to my office, and we got engaged in discussing. And we were very angry with him at that time because of the Muslim ticket. We felt he did not consider us from the north. And so we discussed it, and then we now ask him, okay, now that you did not give us the vice presidency, what will it be in for us, especially Christians from the north? And we had a lot of discussions, and we thank God that those discussions eventually yielded a lot of positive manifestations when it came to his appointments. So basically, when I was to do my birthday and I felt, well, it is very important that we speak to the nation again. So that's why we had a colloquium, and the theme was the quest for a better Nigeria.
The quest for a better Nigeria.
The quest for a better Nigeria, yes.
Beautiful.
So we had a paper on it by Dr. John Dara, a former presidential candidate, and a number of dignitaries were there. Honorable Dogara, Yapu Dogara, the former speaker, was the chairman of that day, and a number of people coming in from far and wide, and where General Chris Garba was a special guest. Dr. Goodluck Jonathan was to be there, and also on a birthday, but he couldn't make it on the colloquium day, but of course he sent a representative to the church and gave us his own word. Also, coupled with the press release from the presidency to celebrate my 65th birthday, and also later from the DGDSS. So, in all, it was very amazing. We spoke truth to power. We spoke about the things that were happening. One, we said the killings were still ravaging villages, and especially in the Middle Belt, that security needed to be beefed up with what recently happened in Plateau, in Benue, and I said that is not acceptable, and that the reason why this evil...
Sorry, let me cut you there, Your Grace. Did you say that these killings are not acceptable?
Never acceptable.
Right.
And that the government do something. Anybody who kills should be killed. Anybody who goes and attack innocent people, the government should put up the apparatus and go after them. Because people do wrong in this country and they are not punished for it. That's why they keep doing it. Right. If someone breaks the traffic light, let him pay a fine of 20,000 or 50,000. Tomorrow again, if he breaks or do another drive against traffic, drive one way, pay another 20 or 50,000. By the time they paid those fines 2 or 3 times, it will enter their head that they are not supposed to do it. So because people do things and they are not punished for it, they keep doing it.
Yes.
So I think it is time for the government to give security to people, because the primary purpose of government is the security of lives and property. So nobody has the right to carry AK-47 and carry anything and they are not arrested. They should be arrested and they should face the music. When that is done, a number of days and a couple of months, we will rid the society of this banditry, corruption, killings, and kidnappings, and all of that. We have the technology. How can people call on phone and demand for ransom? And then they will locate them and give them the ransom. And yet the government apparatus cannot use the same system to track them. So they should be tracked. They should be punished. And nobody should do whatever they want to do and go away with it. That is the quest we have for a better Nigeria, that people should be able to sleep with their eyes closed. We're each other's keepers. We can't go after each other's throat. Whether you're a Christian or a Muslim, it is not acceptable that we keep killing each other. We used to live in peace before in this country. What has happened? So we say no to it. God said to Abel, to Cain, where is Abel, your brother? And Cain said, am I my brother's keeper? You are either your brother's keeper or you are his killer. So we should stop the killing. And so once government rise up to the occasion, there will be sanity. And we'll let our society again be back to peace. And there will be development, there will be progress in our nation, because the wrong things have been done away with.
Well, I must tell you, your interaction with the president at the onset of his administration, at least before, in fact, during the campaigning, seems to have paid off, because I'll tell you something, this morning's Liberty newspaper has a cover story. It says, Kaduna free of ethno-religious violence for 2 years. Governor Uba Sani, the governor himself, said so. So the ethno-religious connotations that you were scared of for a Muslim ticket, in fact, it seems to be the reverse. Now we find that southern Kaduna, where the mostly Christians were being decimated, Christians and Muslims, we agree, but mostly Christians were being decimated. The governor is saying now, in 2 years of the Tinubu administration, they're free of this ethno-religious violence. Can you believe it? So you see, it's so important for men of God like you, when they have interfaces with presidents and leaders of authority, to, like you said, speak truth to power. This is the result. We're seeing the physical manifestation. We want to appreciate you. You're just sounding like those Nathaniels and all those prophets who used to go to King David and say, look, what you're doing here and here needs to be corrected. But we want to ask you, men like you are rare. The others seem to go to Aso Rock and say, oh, President, let us pray for you. We want to pray for your administration. We want to pray for the First Lady. And then go back up with, you know, something to fuel their private jets. What do you have to say about those kind of clerics?
Well, I'm a fellow cleric, and I will not say anything ill against any cleric.
No, not ill.
Yeah, well, they have their convictions why they go to pray for Mr. President. Because maybe very soon, too, you will see me going to pray for Mr. President, and you will also think that I went to pray and carry Ghana must go.
No, I made an exception for you. I said, in your case, you will also speak the truth. Tell him that, oh, Mr. President, you know, the Nigerians are talking a lot about hunger. You will do it. I trust you.
We pray genuinely. Yeah. And we want to see things better in the government. So those who went to pray probably had the conviction. And of course, sometimes once we pray, like the Catholic bishops paid a courtesy visit to Mr. President recently. And of course, they spoke a lot of things, and especially about the hunger in the land.
Yes.
Killings. And I was quite appreciative of that. I mean, I quite appreciate that. So sometimes when our leaders go to government, and they don't just go to pray. They also go to talk to government about things that are wrong and things that government should done, should do, and beef up a lot. We also just returned from Owerri this last week when we had the Nigerian Interreligious Council. And of course, key Christian leaders and Muslim leaders. And we raised also issues in the country and things that are happening. And we just, communique is just being released now from NIGCOMSAT office, and all we want is the unity of the body, the unity of the nation.
Yes.
That nation, because no nation progresses in the midst of chaos. So we have to be united together. We have to forget our religious differences because we are, first of all, Nigerians before we are Muslims or Christians. So we should have that at the back of our mind. So I can't afford to kill you, destroy you simply because we are not believing the same way I believe or following the same faith that I follow. It's not permitted. It's not allowed. So we also paid during my birthday activities after the colloquium. On Friday afternoon, we paid a visit to the Secretary to the government and also brought out some of these issues before him, commended them of the things we can see. Roads are being constructed in Abuja. Wike is doing very well. Development areas are being opened. Kuje, Buhari, all around Kwali, roads and things are happening. We commend them vehemently on that and also pray that the highways and the Minister of Works should do the same, ensure that people can travel on road. If the road from here to Lagos was good, nobody needs to fly always. If the road from here to Enugu was good, it's 3 hours, 5 hours when in Enugu, so that's what we want. And we believe that what we have seen Mr. President do in these 2 years, we believe before even the next election, we will see greater improvement and low roads in our nation, infrastructural developments. The youths are gainfully employed or entrepreneurship, they're into it and they find something doing for themselves, and this country is rid of poverty and there's enough food, and then our farmers can go to farm where there is security and food could become cheap.
Yes.
Last recently that rice has gone down to something thousand per bag from 100 and something. That is good development. But sometimes some of these things are happening, nobody is saying it. All we keep talking about is negative things that are happening with government. No, when they do right, when they do positive things, we should commend them and we should celebrate it. And when we're also saying that things are not done well, we should also talk to them so that those things can be corrected and done well. So I think in all honesty, in these 2 years of this administration, yes, they have tried. And we are praying for them to try more and do more, and especially ensure that hunger is rid of in the land. Thank God the rice is going down, but let there be security. All the Irish potato we used to have from Jos became more expensive because of the serial attacks that kept happening. But if the farmers are allowed to go to the farm and bring out these Irish to the highways and bring it to the market, it will be cheaper, because a lot of people are into farming and a number of things could happen. So we are saying that we can see some progress made so far.
Right.
Definitely, we are not where we used to be. We need to be, but we are definitely not where we used to be.
We're
Progress
definitely not where we used to be. Beautiful. Let's have the telephone numbers up on the screen. We might be able to squeeze in 1 or 2 calls, yeah? But, Your Grace, I was going to look at, you were talking a lot about religious harmony. And look at the first couple. They seem to be like projection of what religious harmony could be. The president is a Muslim faithful. He took part in the Ramadan fast. He goes through all the 5 pillars of Islam. The First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, is not only a Christian, she's also an ordained minister. She's a pastor. And both of them have lived harmoniously for like 3 decades together. No restriction whatsoever. So isn't that a model of how Nigeria should live,
I believe so, because Mr. President expressed that to us when we told him about our fears. He said, people say, I'm going to Islamize Nigeria. I say, how will I? I have not Islamized my own family. My wife sleeps on one side with her Bible, and I'm sleeping on the other side of the bed with my Quran. And we have stayed together for over 30 years. So how? And then some of my children go to mosque with me, some go to church with her. So, like you said, that's how it should be. Religious harmony. Believe whatever you want to believe. Serve the God you want to serve. and let me serve the God I want to serve. You don't have to kill me simply because I changed my faith, I changed my religion. You don't have to. Let's honor each other, let's respect each other, and then watch things happen positively to this great nation. So that's a very good example of Mr. President and his wife, not just a Christian, but an ordained minister of the gospel. And yet they honor each other, they respect each other's faith, each other's beliefs, and yet they live harmoniously. I think we need a lot of that. We need to imbibe that in this nation so that we don't go after each other's throat just because of religion. No, that's not permitted.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your Dominion ministry, because apart from having your spread all over the nation, there's always a Dominion chapel in, I think, in every single state. You have also registered your presence abroad. You have your church in the UK, I think in the US. How did you come to spread so far in so short a time?
I wish I have spread more than I have. But thank God for where we are. We're in the UK, we're in the US, in Kenya, East Africa. We have a number of churches there. We have in Ghana, in Liberia, in a few of these places. And of course, in the nation, almost every state in the country, we have a few churches. So God has been faithful. Yes. I just clocked 65, but I've been preaching for 45 years.
Wow.
And the church has existed for about 36, 37 years.
Congratulations. So and Your Grace, we have our first caller. Let's hear. Right. Caller, go ahead. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Mr. Sani Aruna by name. I'm calling from Yola.
From Yola, Damwa State. Good morning, sir.
Yola.
Welcome.
So my contribution I just make this morning is that, our situation that we are passing in this country is not only about religion or about ethnic or about something. We need to get up and rise and let young ones like me and many others to know that it's not religion killings that is in Nigeria. We need to hold our leaders accountable to know that most of the young ones already know, they already update one way to another to know this country, they are not living, fighting because of the youth. They are thinking most of themselves. If like I hear my clergy is saying it, they have the opportunity to Mr. President. You have to tell the Mr. President, there are few things. It's not about religion, it's not about the food matter is down. Now it's about the look at common masses, how to eat 3 days a day. If that youth that found ways, since that Mr. President come to the board, we really appreciate him for what he's doing for the airport, but he needs to know about the youth, about their jobless.
Yes.
Commander, this killing that today we are saying it's not about religion. It's not about religion.
Right.
Everybody we go to school together with them, we eat together with them. He's a Christian, he's a Muslim, the same bench every day by day.
Yes.
But we're supposed to tell our leaders the gospel truth. Someone is taking most of the wealth of the nation for in pocket. We see it in newspaper, we see it in media, we see it that they are dying with that job, without anything.
Right. Thank you very much for your contribution. You've made your point right. You're saying that the problem of the youths need to be addressed. Yes, and he's... Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Okay, Your Grace, he is saying that he's appealing to you in a nutshell, since you have the ears of the president, to also chip in the issue of the youths. There's a youth bulge in Nigeria, vast unemployment, underemployment, and these are some of the things that lead to crime, criminality, killing, hostile killing, and, lack of respect. You've noticed Nigeria, we have such lack of respect for the human life. So this is what he's talking about. And as a matter of fact, yes, you are talking to the right person, but no, you're not talking to the right person, because he is not a government official. He just comes maybe on courtesy calls to the president. So what you want to do, when we bring some of them into the studio, we will be able to address such issues. Like you've heard, he has opened branches of his church around the nation and outside the country, which means they are avenues of succor even for unemployed youths. So he's doing his part. We have to also task, like you rightly said, caller, task our leaders to be not only accountable, but to also be sensitive to the plight of the youth. All right. Your Grace, I also want to ask, like, you said you've been in ministry for so many years. Tell us, how did you get the call into ministry? Because you're an engineer, a qualified engineer. How did you get the call, and was there any resistance from your people?
Well, yes. Incidentally, I was like the first graduate in my family.
Wow.
And also, coming from the north, Kaduna State, in southern Kaduna. By the way, congratulate me because we are the ones that benefited from the new Federal University of Science, Applied Science in Kachia.
Congratulations! Congratulations!
Yeah, so you see why I can be so very passionate about this government. Southern Kaduna at the university, we also had a Federal Medical Center and all of that. And by the way, the governor of Kaduna State that has talked about all of the killings and peace in the state is an amazing man. I remember I prayed with him. He came to my office just before his election, and I also prayed with him. So we're very happy with him and what we can see, the progress and the unity and the killings that have been reduced to the barest minimum. There's still some skirmishes here and there, but we believe that everything will be stamped out completely. Well, I had my salvation very early in life, 1976, at the age of 16, and that's it. And I began my journey. By 1980, I already started preaching, going to villages for crusades and all of that. And that's how I began. And in the campus, while I was doing my OND, I was one of the officials in the Kaduna Poly. By the time I went back for my HND, I was elected as a chaplain of the entire Kaduna Polytechnic community.
Wow.
That time I used to be students' chaplaincy. Yeah. So I
student as a chaplain.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
That was 1986, 87. So by the time I went for youth service again, 1987, 88, I was again elected as the Corpus president, Nigerian Christian Corpus Fellowship Ondo State. I was elected as the president. So at that point, I knew that, hey, man, you finish as chaplain, you finish as this, finish as that. Are you sure you're going to use this engineering? Anyway, I prayed to the Lord and I said, God, if you want me to preach, then if I'm elected again into any high position as the number one, it means I'm going back to Abuja to be a pastor. So when I was elected as president of the Corpus Fellowship, I knew immediately that I was meant to take up the ministry. And that was what happened. And the Lord me. But I worked for 1 year in FCD in Abuja. And after 1 year, I already had planted 3 churches, Buhari, Kubwa, and Garki. So I had to resign because I couldn't handle, I was the only pastor of those 3 churches. So I had to resign 1990. So I worked for 1 year, got the job, September 89, and then resigned October 1990. So that's how it began. And since then, God has been faithful, graciously gracious to me. God bless us with 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. My last daughter just had her birthday yesterday. She was 31 yesterday, our last daughter.
Wow.
And our first son, our first son is 40 years old now, because last Monday, we marked April 28 was our 41-year wedding anniversary. So that's how it has been. So I got married early at the age of 24.
Wow.
And then now we're just facing the ministry. Our children are grown up. But the good news is my wife and I decided to adopt most of the children that our parents have been killed through this insurgency. So we run an orphanage of over 50 children.
Wonderful.
You know, at Dutse. Yes, so that's part of our life. To give
give us the location of the orphanage.
It's at Dutse, Apo Dutse here in Abuja.
Okay. Wow, that is so inspiring.
Yeah, so we do quite a lot. My wife does quite a lot. So we have dedicated our later years now to serving humanity. Maybe that's why I brought in people's engineering. We want to see life transformed, beginning from the younger ones, and we are so excited to see that. Some of our orphan children have gotten married now, some are in university, and so on and so on and so forth. So it's very exciting to see these children that have no parents, you know, going and helping God and serving God and serving their nation in the way they can. It's very amazing for us.
Right. I've noticed something very interesting about your 65th birthday colloquium. The lead speaker was himself a presidential candidate, but rather than coming, he was, you know, more or less in support of the current administration, and you just gave him the free platform.
Yeah, Dr. John Dara was a former presidential candidate, not in 20, I think that was like 2007 or 2009. So it's not even recently. But I also know that somehow he has supported this administration. He had believed in the government of Tinubu. And I remember when, you know, I came out and I granted an audience to the president. And then, you know, he came to address over 200 bishops and pastors from the northern region. All the attacks I got, abuses, that I was supporting Muslim ticket. I was I really suffered all manner of attacks. He was one
persecution.
Of the ones that was one of the uncles that would just tell him, don't say anything to anybody. You've done what you did, leave the rest and the future will tell. So, somehow, because I'm not a politician, I'm just a pastor. But the good news also was that at some time in his life, when he sensed that he needed to go into ministry, he approached me for ordination, and I did. So Discipleship Transformation Church, that's the church of Dr. John Dara. I ordained him as a pastor to face that part of the work. So we, in one way or the other, we've been collaborating. So he wasn't campaigning because he wants to come back again. And I all felt, like I said, if the North had 8 years during Buhari, then I believe that the South should be given their 8 years.
Okay. I want to ask you, because our time is fast winding down, but I'm so scared to let you go. So just indulge me, Your Grace. Okay. A situation whereby you have this perfect interconnectivity within the body of Christ, right? Do you also have similar synergy and good rapport with people of interfaith, people like
Sweet melody.
State Fellowship of Nigeria, all right? But presently, you know, serve in the office of the Pentecostal and Charismatic Communion, Pentecostal and Charismatic Bishops Communion of Nigeria. Okay. I'm the chairman. But we have a very good rapport. I'm in NIGCOMSAT, and we have a very good rapport with the Muslim counterparts. I remember on my birthday, the Sultan sent me a congratulatory text, you know, and a prayer. So I'm very close to a lot of them. And for your information, one of the imams came for the colloquium. One of the imams of one of the mosques, the Al-Habia mosque in Guzape, my good friend, the one that coordinates Abrahamic mission. He was in the public lecture on the quest for a better Nigeria. So that's to show you my relationship. And every year I go to his mosque when they are serving and giving food to people. Sometimes I contribute money. Sometimes I send in food items for them to also serve to their people that break their.
Right. Thank you. That was just a wonderful, very inspiring one there from the Archbishop John Praise Daniels. 65 years already, and we wish you 65 more fruitful, charitable, useful years on earth. Congratulations from all of us at KAFTAN Television. We've totally run out of time, but like our earlier guest said too, we really need to zip up the security situation, and that way all our food insecurity will come to an end. That's been the press this morning. I'm Mickey Atta. I hope we have been able to give you a very balanced diet this morning. So on that note, I'm wishing you the start of a very prosperous week and a very, very good Monday. From me, I have to sign out, and from the technical crew who made sure this transmission not only came live but was live streamed, I'll say a very big thank you to you, Bright Chukwuebuge, Mr. Felix, everyone behind the camera. Thank you for making this a possibility, and you, our very dear viewer, thank you for staying there. God bless. Bye-bye.